For a while now, my daughter's been telling me about this beautiful paprika lamb recipe. Last weekend she visited and I asked her to make it for me, and it was so delicious and so easy. Even my 3-year-old grandson loved it, so it's definitely family friendly. The recipe comes from the book Life Changing Food by Jo Whitton. The original recipe calls for lamb shanks, but with prices being what they are, my daughter used lamb 4/4 chops instead, and it turned out fantastic. So whether you're using lamb 4/4 chops or lamb shanks, the recipe remains the same. And this is how it goes. Today I'm using 1.5 kilos of lamb 4/4 chops. If you're using shanks, you'll need 4 large shanks or 6 smaller lamb shanks. Trim any excess fat off the chops and sprinkle with a little salt and pepper. Heat a heavy based pan over a medium heat and add just enough ghee or olive oil to cover the base, and brown the meat well on all sides, working in batches. This step adds loads of flavour, so try and get the meat nice and brown, and once all the meat is brown, set it aside. If the oil has burnt a bit, go ahead and wipe out the pan and add fresh oil or ghee. If it looks fine, leave it because there's a lot of flavour in that oil. Add 1 roughly diced onion and 4 crushed cloves of garlic to the pan, cooking over a low heat until the onion is translucent, stirring often. Then add 1 tablespoon of ground turmeric and 2 tablespoons of paprika. The recipe only calls for 1 tablespoon of paprika, but my daughter recommends using 2. And you can either use sweet or smoked paprika, and the smoked paprika gives it a lovely hint of smokiness. She actually adds 1 tablespoon of sweet and 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika. Then add either 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger powder or 1 tablespoon of fresh ginger grated. Saute everything for a couple of minutes to let the spices bloom. Then stir in 4 tablespoons of tomato paste and let it cook out for a few minutes. I always like to cook the tomato paste out for a couple of minutes at least, because I feel like it has a strange metallic taste if I don't. Then add 2 teaspoons of honey, 1.5 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and 350 ml of lamb or beef stock. Stir everything well, scraping up any bits if there are on the bottom. Bring it to a boil and then add the meat back to the pot. At this point you have 3 options for cooking. You can keep it on the stove top covered and simmer gently for about 3 hours or until the lamb is super tender, or you can use a slow cooker on high for 3 to 4 hours or on low for between 6 to 8 hours, or you can cook it in the oven like I'm doing today. If you've got a bigger oven-proof pot than I have, just put the pot with the lid in the oven. Otherwise, transfer it all to a big baking dish. My daughter also adds big chunks of carrots, which add a really lovely sweetness to the dish. So feel free to add some chunks of carrots. Cover well with aluminium foil or a lid if you've got one. And bake this at 180 degrees Celsius for about 2 hours or until the meat is fork tender. When it's ready to serve, there should be a good amount of sauce. If it's reduced too much, just add a bit of boiling water to bring it back to the right consistency. Before serving, taste and adjust the seasoning. You may need to add a little bit of salt or a little bit of pepper. Serve it with mashed potatoes or mashed sweet potatoes, rice, cooked vegetables, or a simple salad. I've adapted this recipe slightly, and I'll leave my version in the video description for this recipe. I really hope you enjoy this recipe as much as we do. It really is delicious. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. And as a side note, if you're looking for a Christmas present for someone with allergies, this book is excellent.